Welcome to On the Chain.
Let's throw this in there a little bit. Let's throw this one video. We'll go watch the other one too. But if you saw the thumbnail and we talked about, let's say how did we arrive at that, Jeff? Let's find out, how did we arrive at that? Well, it's very simple. Today we had John Deaton, who appeared on Link2, did an interview with them, and that's kind of where this came from. So we got a whole lot of Link2 coming here tonight. And if we go,
Thanks to the Link2.
Link2, man. So if I share the screen again and make sure this time,
that's what we got.
Yeah, gotta make sure that I share the right one, Jeff. Here it is, right here. So this is Backup Bradley, at Backup Bradley, who better as Brad Kimes, and he tweeted this out. John Deaton sits down with Link2, Ripple wins. So let's just play this video here, and let's see what John has to say.
And say that Ripple gets that. Same thing with the Ethereum and Bitcoin documents. Or she could say, no, SEC, you've taken this position that the Hinman speech and the whole thing was a personal opinion, and therefore it's not privileged, and it turns over. Chances are, it's hard for me to imagine that the judge is going to say that all of the documents are privileged and protected. It's hard for me to imagine that she's going to say all of them are not. So it'll be interesting where she says these documents must be turned over and these other documents don't have to be. And why is it taking so long? Because she knows how significant of an issue this is. If the documents are turned over and they're really, really helpful to Ripple, I would predict a settlement within 90 days of Ripple getting the documents in their position, right? It could happen faster, it could take longer, but that to me is the most important part of the case, along with the fair notice. I don't think the judge is going to strike the fair notice defense. Doesn't mean Ripple wins, but they can at least argue it. So this DPP privilege issue is the single biggest factor to me in this case. And I think that this judge, Netburn, is just crossing her T's, dotting her I's, and whoever it helps or doesn't help knows that it's going to be an issue on appeal. And therefore she's trying to make sure that she doesn't get overturned, I guess. You know what I mean?
So there you go, Jeff. So there's where the 90 days came from. And really, it's very specific, too. It's if the DPP is granted and Ripple gets its hands on those documents, then that's where John Deaton is predicting. John Deaton, notice I didn't say Chip and Jeff, but John Deaton's predicting that there could be a settlement within 90 days. But again, that's one thing that probably has to happen. And I ultimately think, we've said this time and time again, if you guys have ever watched even a little bit of the show, but we always say that it doesn't matter what we think. It's really what Brad Garlinghouse said. If they can't get, if the SEC can't come on and say, okay, get it. Today's XRP is not a security. Whatever it was, and you want to go back, 8 years, whatever, that's fine. Jeff, what are your thoughts on this?
Oh, I think, he's spot on. The way he, brings that up, and he said it could happen a little if everything falls into place, right? So it could be a little less, could be more, but he's predicting around 90 days. So it could still go on. So who knows exactly how things are going to be interpreted? Who knows exactly how things will unfold? Only, the judge and the attorneys at this point know how this is going to continue. And who knows what the SEC is going to come up with at the end of the day. I mean, so far it's been nothing but insanity. So
yeah,
maybe we'll get a little bit more of that insanity, or, maybe things will finally start settling down and, they'll reach an agreement and the judge will rule, and that'll be the end of that. And so then we're looking at having a nice summer.
Yeah. That's what could possibly happen. And you got a little video crushing going on there. I suspect it's the location. It's getting worse, Jeff. But I want to throw this up there. Mass adoption. He says that last comment wasn't meant to be demeaning. Just by now, we know that there have been repeated timelines mentioned. None knows for sure. And again, I really like listening to you guys. Much respect. Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. But again, we don't really quote timelines either. Of course, Mr. B and Coining 203, Alex, think there's going to be a settlement. And I honestly, I don't see the SEC. The SEC settles. They're pretty much done, Jeff. They're done. There's not going to be any more. Who are they going to go after next? I mean, they can go after Ethereum. But I mean, really, realistically, who are they going to go after?
They're leaving the door open for Ethereum. At least Gary Gensler is.
Yeah, potentially, right?
Yeah.
Potentially, that's what's going to happen. So that was the very first clip too. There's another good clip here too. Then this one here, this one was tweeted out by DAI Digital Asset Buy, and he tweeted this particular one out. And this is interesting too because we've certainly. Oh yeah, so let me make sure that I share the right thing again. Here we go. But one of the things that John Deaton talks about here is something that I think is really key too. The whole idea of XRP as a currency. So this is interesting. Let's put it full screen. Let's go play it.
And as I told Joe before, in our brief to the judge, we site link to. So, you can tell your lawyers there that you're already in the game because we cite to the fact that that XRP is used as a currency to buy underlying real security Ripple shares. And so that's
our customers understand that distinction as well. They understand the difference between equity and Ripple and XRP, the token, and nobody's confused that they're the same thing. And if they were the same thing, it would make no sense to us to use XRP as a currency in the way that we're doing to provide them with rewards, right? We'd simply, sell them less of the security if they were one and the same thing, but they're not.
And as I
Yeah, Joe's making a really good point there. It's like the only one that's confused about this, Jeff, seems to be Gary Gensler and crew. Of course, I don't want to say in crew because Hester Pierce, I don't want to pull her into it because she was out on Twitter today talking about some more revisions to the safe harbor, which I think are pretty interesting too. I don't know if we'll have enough time to get into that too. But
Is that the one that Gary is still not read?
Gary doesn't have time to read it. He's too busy doing interviews with people that apparently. I don't know what he's doing, but I will tell you this: the bigger shock for me.
So we got to find out.
Yeah, the bigger shock is one of the top two business people on Fox Business. Obviously Charles Gasparino, who's just been outstanding, and Charles Payne, which I love Charles Payne, and that's just the best thing. So Charles Payne has been trying to get Gary Gensler on the show, and someone said, "But you won't go on Fox with the." And basically, let's look at this tweet here because this kind of like sums it up here. So Gensler said, "I'll be on Squawk Box CNBC this morning at 8:30. Tune in, XRP." And then,
man, I totally missed.
Dr. Pavlov 17 says, "But you won't go on Fox with Charles Payne."
Of course not.
Of course not, because he goes on to get the softball questions. Going on CNBC is like going into the West Wing of the SEC suite over there, right? It's like softball questions. Geez, Gary, what do you think about this Ripple lawsuit? Well, I can't get into any specifics about the lawsuit, and I'm not going to tell you which asset. Okay, but you're telling us there's securities. Which ones? I'm not going to tell you about a particular asset, right?
The majority of them.
Just say one of them, man. Just tell us one is not a security. But then Payne's like, I'm not sure why Gary Gensler keeps rejecting requests, but I'll keep asking.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.